The year was 1948, a year most remembered for the creation of the State of Israel, but for Palestinians, it was the beginning of a nightmare they call the Nakba, the catastrophe. Imagine being forced from your home. Imagine your town, your livelihood, wiped off the map. That was the reality for over 700,000 Palestinians. Over 500 villages were destroyed. The violence claimed the lives of an estimated 10,000 to 15,000 Palestinians. Those who fled sought refuge in neighboring countries. They were promised the right to return, a promise that remains unfulfilled to this day. The United States, eager for a strategic ally in the region, supported Israel's creation. They recognized the new state. Meanwhile, Israel refused to allow the return of Palestinian refugees. This displacement, this dispossession, is the root of the Palestinian refugee crisis. A crisis that continues to fuel tension and despair to this very day. It is a wound that has never been allowed to heal. A constant reminder of the injustices at the heart of this conflict. The Nakba wasn't just a single event, it was a systematic expulsion, a deliberate creation of a refugee population. And it wasn't just homes and land that were lost, it was the loss of history, heritage, and identity. The Nakba is not just a historical event, it is a lived reality for generations of Palestinians. Fast forward to 1967, the Six-Day War. Israel occupied the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. This victory, while a triumph for Israel, deepened the Palestinian tragedy. Approximately 20,000 Palestinians and Arabs lost their lives in this war. The occupation brought with it checkpoints, settlements, and military rule. A reality Palestinians have endured for decades. The United States once again stood by Israel. They provided diplomatic cover and military aid. Life under occupation was a slow pressure cooker, restrictions on movement, confiscation of land, economic hardship. The Palestinian people rose up, not once but twice. The First Intifada, a sustained uprising, began in 1987. It lasted 6 years. Over 1,000 Palestinians were killed. The Second Intifada, even more brutal, erupted in 2000. This time the death toll climbed even higher. Over 3,000 Palestinians and 1,000 Israelis lost their lives. The Intifadas showcased the desperation and the resilience of the Palestinian people. They were met with overwhelming military force. The United States, while calling for restraint, continued to support Israel's right to defend itself. This unwavering support, some argue, emboldened Israel's actions. It certainly did little to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinians. Gaza, a tiny strip of land, home to over 2 million Palestinians. Since 2007 it has been under a crippling blockade imposed by Israel and Egypt. The stated reason? Security. The reality? A humanitarian catastrophe. The numbers tell a chilling story. Thousands of Palestinians have died, not from bombs and bullets but from the slow, agonizing effects of the blockade. Lack of access to proper healthcare, malnutrition, untreated illnesses. Imagine living in a place where the most basic necessities are a luxury, where clean water is scarce, where electricity is a flickering dream, where the future holds little but despair. That is life in Gaza under the blockade. The international community has condemned the blockade. The United States and the European Union have called for it to be lifted. But these calls have been largely symbolic. The blockade remains. The Gaza blockade is a collective punishment, a form of economic warfare that has devastated the Palestinian people. It is a stain on the conscience of the world. And yet, it continues, year after year. The human cost is immeasurable, the suffering, unimaginable. The Palestinian story is one of dispossession, occupation, and resistance. It is a story intertwined with the actions of global powers, particularly the United States. The U.S. has consistently provided Israel with military, economic, and diplomatic support. This unwavering support, critics argue, has emboldened Israel and hindered the peace process. The European Union, while often critical of Israeli policies, has failed to take concrete action. Settlement expansion continues. The blockade of Gaza remains. The international community seems paralyzed, caught between condemning Israeli actions and maintaining strategic alliances. This inaction has real consequences for the Palestinian people. The path forward requires a fundamental shift in approach. It demands accountability from Israel, from the United States, from the international community. The Palestinian people deserve justice. They deserve freedom. They deserve a future free from occupation and oppression. The world must listen to their cries, it must act to end their suffering. Only then can there be a glimmer of hope for a just and lasting peace.